All right. Welcome to this presentation on the computer science class offerings here at Woodinville High School. I'm Paul Mulvaney. I'm one of the computer science teachers here, and I can walk you through what we offer. So this video is for students and families. You are probably in the middle of registration right now, and you're trying to figure out what class you want to take. Maybe you have an interest in computer science, something you might be a little bit familiar with or not at all, or it's something you know that's a passion of yours. We have, thankfully, a lot of different types of computer science classes at Woodinville, and I'm sure we've got something that could meet your needs. So of the 5 classes I'm going to talk about today, there's 4 in a programming series, and we have an additional web design class. Web design is taught by Dana Kapasinskis currently, who has done that professionally, and we feel incredibly lucky that we get to have her as the teacher for that class. I think she is putting together her own video for that, so I'm going to talk about the 4 classes that I know, which are the 4 in our programming series. So we have Introduction to Computer Science, AP Computer Science Principles, AP Computer Science A, and Advanced Programming Topics. Now, at the time of recording, Woodinville High School has offered 3 of those. The 4th one that we're looking to offer is AP Computer Science Principles. Hopefully by the time you're viewing this, we do offer that class and have offered it for years, hopefully. I'll talk about those classes one by one. So Introduction to Computer Science Principles, it's a semester-long class. It's worth a half credit, a CTE credit. It has no prerequisite. There's no other classes you need to take beforehand, and it assumes you don't know anything about programming. You could just be curious about computer science, and it would be a good class for you. It is intended to be a lighter workload. The class was built so that students could explore the fundamentals of programming, doing fun projects, game-like projects. And because it's project-based, it culminates in this final project students get to design and then implement over the last 4 to 6 weeks of the semester. This is an example of what our program looks like. If you've ever messed around with Scratch, this is very similar to Scratch, but the one that we use is actually called Snap, which is Berkeley's equivalent to Scratch. And we've seen some truly incredible projects come out of this class. This was a version of a snake game that was made where a green snake gets ever larger as it eats red apples, and it has to avoid this blue mongoose or beetle or whatever it is. You can do really incredible things with Snap. I would say if you think you're interested in computer science, but perhaps the notion of a hand-typed programming language or a class that's going to assign homework, if that feels like too much and you just kind of want to try a fun class that's like building a whole bunch of different games, solving a whole bunch of little puzzles, Intro to Computer Science would be a good fit for you. We see everything from 9th graders to 12th graders in that class. So it's really a good option if you're looking to fill a half CTE credit and want to try something fun. So this is the newest member of our offering, AP Computer Science Principles. It's different than what we've offered since 2014, which is AP Computer Science A, and I can talk about the differences. Where they're similar, they do, it is a 1.0, a full year-long CTE credit. It does not have a prerequisite. Now that I think about it, I think there's a chance it requires Algebra 1, but I'm going to double check that. I'd be willing to bet in the catalog it'll clarify for me. But what I wrote when I did my research was that there's no prerequisite. This one also assumes no previous programming experience. It's a common misunderstanding that in order to do well in a computer science class, you must already know how to program. And we have 3 different classes that you can start at our high school, and all of them assume no previous programming experience. The difference between Intro to Computer Science, APCS Principles, and then APCS A is really pacing and workload. Intro, hardworking students will have very little homework. Principles students will have some homework. I think we would characterize it as a moderate workload. And then APCS A is at a college level rigor. There are 10 units that must be met before the AP exam in May, and so that class moves along and is generally unforgiving if students do not stay on top of the workload, I would say. But I'll talk about that class on the next slide. So AP Computer Science Principles is certainly a step up from Intro. It is an AP class. Among AP classes, it is going to have that level of challenge, but I think it is meant to be more approachable and attainable than some of the other AP offerings. It's going to explore a variety of modern technology tools, some of which is programming, but a lot of what the class talks about is other areas where we use technology today, not just programming. It culminates in a submission of a performance task and taking of an AP exam. Those are the two components that you finish the year with. We're going to run this class in Python. That is a hand-type programming language. It's a great first hand-type programming language for students because it is generally easier to read and understand. There is less what we call syntax or individual characters that you would associate with other programming languages like Java. Here's an example of what Python might look like. Some of the big ideas that are in APCS principles: creative development, data, algorithms and programming, computer systems and networks, and the impacts of computing. The idea is we want to let students see all the different ways that technology is impacting the world they're about to go into, and see what tools, what talents they might have that they could apply to these different areas in their career, in their adult lives. That's APCS principles. APCSA is the computer science class that we've been offering the longest. I started teaching it here at Woodinville High School in 2014. It's also a year-long credit for CTE. This one I'm pretty sure actually does have a prerequisite of Algebra 1. We can double check that in the catalog. Contrary to popular belief, this one really does assume no previous programming experience. We start at the beginning of the year with the basics. This is a variable, this is a print command, this is a method, this is a function, and we put the pieces together. It is college level rigor. There's daily homework, there's 3 large projects throughout the year, there's quarterly exams. We take the AP exam in May. It is a class that will ask a lot, and so I guess I didn't talk about with principles who that is a good candidate for. Let me compare and contrast principles and APCSA. So we see students of all levels take APCSA. I see 9th graders do it. I see 12th graders do it. And the advice I give is that as long as you're willing to stay on top of your work, if you are an A or B student in math, that's usually a pretty good sign. If you are the kind of student that does their homework without being prompted by family, that's usually a pretty good sign. But you do not have to be a computers person. You don't have to be wild into video games. You don't have to understand what a BIOS is. I think most students get that technology is going to play an increasingly influential role in their adult lives, whether it's personally or professionally. And taking a class that covers the fundamentals of how programming works can be an advantage. We think that these computer science classes, especially the last 3 in the sequence, APCSP, APCSA, and advanced programming topics, we really feel that these are big difference makers on a college transcript and can help students stand out for their interest in different STEM fields. So how would you know if principles versus APCSA is the right fit for you? Well, high school is always shorter than we think it's going to be. And whether it's a 6-period schedule or a 7-period schedule, I know that slots can fill up. And so you want to kind of pick what you think is right for you. I imagine APCS principles, as long as there's room in your schedule, is going to often feel like the Goldilocks solution, meaning we're starting to see more and more students from the middle school classes from Leota and Timbercrest and other schools. They're starting to learn a lot of material on computer science there, and that makes, I think, principles a great starting spot in 9th grade. If we've done those classes, we feel very strongly in our ability, then you could jump right into APCSA. ninth grade. Although I would say students with a strong middle school background in computer science that have room and interest in their schedule, I would recommend APCS Principles ninth grade, APCS A 10th grade, and then Advanced Programming Topics 11th grade. So it all depends on what you have room for in your schedule and what your interest is in computer science, I would say. Okay, so we're back on APCSA, the third class in the sequence. Covers all the fundamentals of programming and algorithmic thinking. Culminates in an AP exam. So what are the things we talk about? Variables, methods or functions, parameters and return values, loops, object-oriented programming. These are all the things that you would expect to see in an introductory programming class. In fact, much of our curriculum was greatly influenced by what was then University of Washington's CSE 142 and 143 classes, which I think are just now or have recently been branded like 121, 122, 123. There's a new sequence. They took their 2 10-week courses and broke them into 3 10-week courses, which I think was a good and merciful move on their part. We talk arrays and lists, and what you will learn in this class is Java. Java is, though it is getting older all the time, it is still a real-world programming skill. There's plenty of people make a living writing Java. And so it's something that we're excited to be able to offer, just like Python. We think it's great that students are able to begin picking up this skill in high school because it's something that could really advantage them in college and beyond. Examples of Java would be, this is how we would write hello world, or get our computer to say the words hello world back to us. That's what Java looks like. So we've done Intro, APCS P, APCS A. The fourth class in our offering is called Advanced Programming Topics. This is the one class that you do have to have completed a different class in first. It's another year-long CTE credit, and it does require AP Computer Science. I would say it is a significant workload, but all the students tell me it is a step down in pacing from APCS A. And so we think this is probably going to feel more in that middle moderate workload like APCS Principles. You do have to complete APCS to be able to take this class. It's going to add to a lot of what was learned in APCS A, which is, and I want to clarify, the prerequisite is APCS A. You cannot take Advanced Programming Topics having only taken APCS P. I know that can be confusing. So it builds on what's learned in APCS A. We add more of Java's data structures and some basic web development tools. And the reason that students really like this class is because after one semester of learning new tools and new concepts, the class ends second semester with students implementing, designing, creating their own final project, this capstone project. The things that we have seen come out of this class have been absolutely remarkable. There have been students who have received recognition for some of the work they've done here. For example, this was a student named Tristan, made a rogue-like adventure game where this particular stealthy-looking adventurer has to go around and dispatch robots from the shadows. It was such a well-liked game, he got to present it at the Microsoft Computer Science High School Fair, which we were very proud of. So what are specific examples of things you'll learn in this class? Stacks and queues, sets and maps, linked lists and trees, as well as web development tools like HTML, CSS, or JavaScript. So that's the fourth and final class. I know that's a lot of information, and you might still have some questions about what class would be right for you to take. I want to encourage you to reach out to me. Again, I'm Paul Mulvaney. I'm one of the computer science teachers here at Woodinville High School, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Thanks for watching.